Morning. My name is Sharon Hartle. I'm from the University of Verona, and I also work as a team leader for Cambridge ESOL tests, examinations for the area of Verona, Vicenza and Mantova. And I'm at present the coordinator for English item writing in the Language Centre of the University of Verona. Today I'd like to talk about speaking tests, oral production, and there are two questions that come to mind when I think of this. One is, what is level? And I've been thinking about this for some time, because the level of the language that we produce is very variable. And it ranges from how you feel when you get up in the morning, who you're talking to, the confidence you have in yourself, the situation, to utter confidence when you feel at ease in reassuring situations. So, given this difference in level, the really important question that we have to think about is assessment. How do we assess this? Because assessment is necessary. Our learners need certificates to be able to tell people what level they've got. We as teachers need to be able to assess level, to know what to teach, etc., etc. So, in this presentation today, I'm going to look at factors affecting performance, how we in the University of Verona assess our learners at the moment, with a quick overview of our test procedure and the criteria we use. And then I want to come back to what level is, to the official level, if you like, the Common European Framework, and compare that with a practical example of level at work. I'd then like to look at a proposal for continuous task-based assessment and draw my conclusions with one suggested way forward, which in 20 minutes is going to be pushing it, but I'll try to do my best. So, first of all, factors affecting performance. Successful performance. Some of the major factors that affect a successful performance are obviously linguistic competence. If you have the words you need, then you can use them. If grammatical, for example, if you do not know the forms for the past, you can't talk about the past. Although you can develop strategies such as adding time references like yesterday, which will help. But basically, linguistic competence is essential. But it's not enough on its own. We have to go beyond that. You may have very high linguistic competence, but not believe in your own ability. I don't have much time to talk about this, but somebody who has written and worked a lot on the role of identity in motivation is Dornier. The book is on the reference is on the reference list that I've provided for you. Another thing that is very important is confidence that you have, understanding of the topic being discussed. You may have very high linguistic competence in one area, but not in another. This is also another thing that comes again and again is planning time in tests. When people don't have time to plan what they're going to say, it's more difficult, and performance often improves when planning time is allowed. Finally, a supportive environment. It's true that there are candidates who perform very well under stress and in exam conditions, but on the whole, a supportive environment produces better results. Lower anxiety levels increase level of performance. So these are some of the things that go into successful performance. Just quickly, to underline this, think about your own level, either in your first language, your second language, your third, or your 55th. How do you perform in these conditions? I'm going to go through this very quickly. Just think about it. How do you perform when describing a topic you haven't fully understood or you haven't had time to think about? When speaking about something specialized with lexis you're not completely familiar with, how do you perform? How do you perform when speaking with supportive colleagues about a lesson you've planned? Or when you're describing a memorable event, a holiday, an enjoyable meal to friends in a relaxed context? How do you perform when describing your strengths in a high-stakes job interview? And finally, how do you perform when defending an unpopular decision you have made to an unsupportive audience? I think just by considering these contexts, it's clear that performance and level changes according to context and all the factors mentioned before. So, given that we have these changes, that level is not constant, how can we assess it? Well, to go to the Common European Framework of Reference, in fact, Chapter 9 deals with assessment. These are the things that are outlined for different types of assessment. What we use at the moment in Verona is performance assessment. We have an oral test where candidates either singly or paired produce language. These candidates are assessed by examiners, and this is proficiency assessment, not achievement assessment. This is an area that seems to have caused quite a lot of confusion. This has come up recently in training sessions in the university. But we have decided, or we believe quite strongly, in fact, that proficiency assessment is what is needed, because we're producing certification which will show to other people, to people in the faculties or to people outside the university, that our candidates have achieved a certain level, have reached a certain level of proficiency. It's not a progress test, so whilst teachers will be using achievement assessment in progress tests, we need an exam that assesses mastery, which is why we do proficiency assessment. And to ensure objectivity, we use criterion referencing, and I'm going to look at that now. This is a quick overview of our testing procedure. As I said before, we use a paired format. And I think the smiles on the faces here, even though this is just a clip art from Microsoft, shows the relaxed nature of a paired testing format. We do it to ensure, in particular, interpersonal interaction between the candidates, but also to provide this more reassuring environment. The raters, the examiners, are also encouraged to be supportive. A smile can go a long way to put someone at ease in an exam situation. Timing. The timing of our oral tests varies ranging from 10 to 20 minutes, depending on the level and also the task being done. As I said, this is just a quick overview. The tasks are related to the ALTE can-do statements. The idea being that we're testing, as we said before, mastery. So what we want to see is, can these candidates do the things that they should be able to do at this level? This is level related and designed to produce realistic performance. For example, at a B1 level, they might be asked to describe a visual prompt. At a B2, to give them the chance to produce more complex language, they might be asked to compare or contrast two visual prompts. At a C1 level, they'll be asked to discuss more abstract topics. These things are very clearly linked to the can-do statements. The criteria that we use are fairly widespread nowadays, although they haven't actually been around for that long, and I cited Canali and Swain, although many other people have written about it, but they were the first to introduce the communicative idea when linked to testing. So these are our criteria. We assess them according to grammar, accuracy and range, not just accuracy. And again, this is something that our raters sometimes have difficulty with. but range. Vocabulary, the same, but we also add appropriacy. Again, this is level related, and this is just an overview. Each level has its own descriptors, but vocabulary that's appropriate, register, comes in here as well. Fluency, which includes hesitation and also discourse management, extension, relevance, things like that. And pronunciation, where we look at single sounds, intonation, stress. And finally, I'm not sure if you can see it here, but the last one is interactive communication, initiating, responding, turn-taking and negotiation. Can the candidates actually listen to each other? Do they take ideas and develop the discourse? We discovered that, in fact, there are some differences between languages in the University of Verona, but most of them tend to be fairly similar to this, so this is quite standard, and I'm sure it is in other places too. So this is an overview of our procedure. To come back to the European standard, though, I just want to think about one thing. Objectivity is something that the Anglo-Saxon world believes in a lot. There's a lot of belief in objectivity. For this reason, Cambridge ESOL exams insist on the examiners not knowing the candidates. But how objective is that, really? And how objective are the exams in different contexts? At a recent conference in Barcelona, where testing experts talked about putting the Common European Framework to good use, Brian North said standardization is not a democratic process. There is no your B2, there is B2. And this, I think, is worth bearing in mind as well, connected to objectivity. Objectivity, if we have a standard, a European standard, it's that. And our raters have to be standardized and trained to assess for that level. In this way, the European framework, the levels, are there to support us and to support our candidates, helping them get to this level. But this is the level. They have to get over this wall.